Welcome on in, everybody, to the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. Today's episode is going to be a Brownlow preview for the season 2024. It's tomorrow. Brownlow is tomorrow at time of recording, and also, hopefully, time of publishing. It'll be about 24 hours to go before the Brownlow medal night happens. And we're going to have a look at everything Brownlow. We're going to have a look at my top 20 for the year. We're going to have a look at a couple different sites' Brownlow predictions. We're going to have a look at the club-by-club rankings according to my Brownlow votes that I do every match at the conclusion of every match. Not necessarily who I think is the best player. I try to do them as an umpire's view based on what we know of how umpires vote. So that's what I've done for every game this year. Come out with a list of players. So yeah, we'll go through each club, and then we'll finish off with a look at the top four, because I personally think that the Brownlow medalist is going to come from those top four. Doesn't mean it will happen, but I think they're the four most likely. So we're going to have a little bit of a deeper dive into those four players. But without any further ado, the reason you're all here is to see who I have on top. And let's run them through. Here is the top 20 at the end of 2024 for my votes for the Brownlow for 2024. I've Paddy Cripps coming number one, 35 votes. Couple votes ahead of Bontempelli on 33, Nick Dacos on 32, Lachie Neale 30, Isaac Heaney obviously ineligible, but I gave him 29 votes. Zach Merritt 28, Sarong 27, Tom Green 26. So pretty stacked list with quite a lot of people within not many votes. Errol Goulden 24. Then there's a little bit of a gap down to Butters 21, Anderson 20, Newcomb 20, Sheasel also 20 votes, Hayden Young 19, Treloar 19, Sinclair 18, and then Jordan Dawson, Luke Davies-Yanaki, Ollie Wines and Jason Horne-Francis all getting 17 votes apiece. Side note, I had Jordan Dawson as my prediction pre-season, so he kind of let me down a little bit. I've got him in 17th though, and potentially polling okay, but certainly nowhere near what he would need to win it. Jumping on, so here is some ratings. My votes, obviously, AFL.com's Brownlow Predictor and also Wheelo Ratings, which, if you don't know, it's a website that is very good for football stats, so go check it out. I'll put a link down in the description below to them. Great website that has a lot of good stats, so go check it out. This is just, the same list again, same 20 players, my top 20, but also with their AFL and Wheelo ratings. AFL has Nick Dacos and Paddy Cripps equal first. Wheelo has Nick Dacos ahead of Paddy Cripps, and then a bit of a gap down to Neale and Bontempelli, which, maybe. AFL rating is obviously Paddy Cripps, Dacos tied first. Lachie Neale 1 vote behind them. AFL.com apparently do not like Marcus Bontempelli at all, because they've given him only 26 votes. As you can see, he did only play 21 matches, so he missed 2, which obviously hurts your chances. But we'll see how that plays out on the night, I guess. Anything else worth noting on this screen? I don't think so too much. Overall, most are fairly similar, like until you get down to around this area of like the bottom half of the list. Hayden Young, I obviously have voting a lot higher than AFL and Wheelo, whereas they both went Andrew Brayshaw, which is probably a good shout, but I just think Hayden Young's been really good this year. Outside of that, we'll move on to what I have next. And this is our team-by-team votes, just so you can get an idea of who's taking votes off who. Adelaide, they didn't have the greatest season. They lost a lot of games. Dawson, I had as their best vote getter, then led Rankin, Keys, and then Saligo and Matt Crouch. But I don't think anyone's going to be challenging too much for the top spots in the Brownlow count. Brisbane, Lachie Neale clearly the best. A few people taking some votes, but at the end of the day, they finished 5th on the ladder. They got a lot of wins. I personally think Lachie Neale played better this season than he did last year, so we'll get into that a little bit more once we do the top 4 rankings, ratings, deep dive into the top 4 players. But I think he was personally better than last year. And as you all probably remember, he did win the Brownlow last year, so you got to put him in with a chance here. McCluggage, Zorko. Zorko will poll well, especially early, I think. He might peter out a little bit towards the end. Dunkley and Danaher for Carlton. I mean, there's no surprise here. Paddy Cripps is going to, more than likely, in almost every case, would finish on top of Carlton's Brownlow this year. Sam Welsh will take some votes off him, but not many. Probably end up around that 15 mark. Hewitt 10, De Koning 8, Newman 5. But yeah, not too much competition at Carlton either. At Collingwood, Nick Dacos will clearly finish on top. Scott Pendlebury, Dacos, De Goey, Crisp. I will get a couple votes here and there, but overall, the only one from Collingwood that I can see polling any consistently is Nick Dacos. Essendon, much the same in a way. Zach Merritt 28, Nick Martin 13, Caldwell 7, Redmond 5. Fremantle is probably the first team where there's quite a bit of competition for votes. I think Sarong still will quite clearly finish on top. Obviously, proved last year that he polls pretty well. When it comes to umpires, they gave him 24 votes last year, so he does poll well. I've got him for 27 here. Young, as I said, I've maybe overdone what most people are suggesting for him. I've got him at 19. Brayshaw 15, Ryan 7, and Swiatkowski 4. But I think it's going to be those top 3. Sarong needs a really good start because he did start the year well, so he needs to poll really well in those first few weeks. And then he also needs to hope that Young and Brayshaw don't knock him out of the votes too many times in the back end of the season. Next up, we have Geelong. I can't see anyone challenging for Brownlow here from Geelong. They obviously had a good season, a lot of wins, but overall they just were a really good team that just sort of gelled well together, got the job done. As you can see, Cameron 12, Dangerfield 10, Myers 9, Stewart 7, Holmes, and Bowie's 6 each. Any one of them could finish on top, in all honesty. I think they'll share the votes around mostly across the year for the whole Geelong team. Gold Coast, really top 4 players. After that, there's nobody that's getting votes at all, I don't think. Noah Anderson had an outstanding year. I've got him on 20. Matt Rao starts the year really well. He finished on 16 for me. Sam Flanders 15 and Miller 12. They'll all be taking votes off each other quite consistently. Who polls the most in the end will be interesting. Anderson obviously polled very well last year, so I would imagine he probably will again this year. Matt Rao, he's polled okay across his career, 0.4 per game. He's never had an outstanding year in the votes, but I mean, a couple of those years he didn't play much football, so he'll poll okay, I would imagine. Onto GWS, Tom Green clearly will be their highest vote getter, I think. 26, I have him on. I don't think there's too much competition for him to finish on top of the GWS list. I've got Kelly next on 11. He misses a fair bit of football. Whitfield 10, Toby Green 6, and Brent Daniels 5. Onto the Hawthorn Hawks. Jai Newcomb had a little bit of a slow start to the year, but he came home really, really well. And I've got him on 20, which would be an outstanding tally for him. He's polled pretty well the last 2 years. So 2022 he got 11, and then 2023 he got 18. So he's improving each year, and he'll be clearly Hawthorn's best vote getter this year. And maybe 20 might be unders. He might be someone that can actually really surprise a few people. Dylan Moore will be polling well early. He had a great start to the year, held Hawthorn together for the first 12 weeks before Newcombe really took over in the vote getting sort of games. Warple 12, Nash 7, Wilday 5. Melbourne, Max Gawn 16. He misses a little bit of football, certainly towards the end, in and out of the team. Petrarca 14 and missed the whole second half of the year. Oliver and Viney 8 each, and Trent Rivers 5. I don't think anyone from Melbourne's going to be challenging too much. Max Gawn probably around about that 20th mark. Petrarca just below him. North Melbourne, this is an interesting one. I've got Harry Sheasel getting 20. A little bit overs of what most other people were saying. I think he just wins enough ball that the umpires are going to notice him. Luke Davies-Yanaki, 17. He gets a lot of it. He does turn it over a lot, which is my main criticism of him. But at the end of the day, I don't know if the umpires take too much notice of that. Got him on 17. Tristan Zeri on 7. And Tom Powell on 2. So it's those top couple, not much else for North Melbourne. We move on to Port Adelaide. This will be an interesting one. The top 4 players for them, actually, to be honest, top 5 will all poll quite consistently. They obviously finished second on the ladder, so they are going to get a lot of votes, Port Adelaide, this year. Zach Butters, 21. Ollie Wines and Horn Francis, both 17. Rose 13 and Dan Houston 9. I guess it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out for these 4. Zach Butters obviously polled really well last year. I think he finished just behind Nick Dacos in 3rd or 4th with 27 votes. So he polled really well last year. You kind of expect that might happen again here. Ollie Wines, I mean, he's a Brownlow medalist before, so there's no reason why he can't poll well here. Horn Francis is someone that umpires would notice just because he is very noticeable when he's getting the ball, he's running, he's kicking long, he's kicking goals, so he'll poll a few votes. Rose didn't have the best season, but I've got him on 13. Richmond, I think we can basically forget about him. If you're betting on one of these guys to lead Richmond's votes, who knows who it will be. I have Taranto, Baker 5 each, Short 4, Bolter 3, Rioli 3, Hopper 3. But in all honesty, Richmond are not going to poll that many votes this year, so it could be tough. St Kilda, I've got Sinclair on 18, a little bit over what most people think. Steele on 14, Roland Marshall on 13, maybe a little bit below what some people are thinking, but yeah, they're probably the 3 main vote getters for St Kilda. It'll be interesting because in the first half of the year, they're probably not going to be polling too well, St Kilda, but they certainly will late in the year because they came home really, really well. So look for them to make a run late, but I would imagine it will probably be too late. For Sydney Swans, Isaac Heaney's obviously ineligible for the Brownlow, but I've got him on 29. He had a great season. Never polled too well in his history. In all honesty, one of the lowest of anybody in the top 20 in terms of votes per game. But he's played a different role this year. He's gone from a semi-full-time forward to a full-time midfielder with the occasional spurts up forward. He had a lot of the ball. He kicked a lot of goals. He'll poll really well early season. I have him on 29. It's going to be interesting to see how many votes some of these other players take off each other, I guess, because Errol Goulden, 24. Last year, he came home really well in the Brownlow, finished with 27. Wasn't that far off winning it. So he polls well. I don't think he's been better than last year, so I don't think he will win it. In all honesty, I think he's been slightly worse, and Heaney's definitely been better, and Warner's probably been better than he was last year as well. So maybe a bit more competition this year for Goulden and votes. Warner, as I said, I've got him on 16. Others have him up to about 20-ish. It'll be an interesting to see how he goes. He got 16 votes last year, so he does poll okay, so that's not too bad. Grundy, I think, will get around 7, probably most of that early season. Blakey, 5. West Coast, Yo and Tim Kelly, 9 each. I think Elliot Yo started the year real well, but West Coast didn't. As a team, they won't poll that many votes, but they'll get a few here and there. Waterman and Reid, 4 each, and Oscar Allen, 2. And then the Bulldogs, this will be another interesting one because Bont should fly away from him. I've got him on 33. I've got Treloar on 19 and Ed Richards 10, Libba 6 and Bailey Dale 5. Treloar had a career year this year. I've got him on 19 votes. He did get 18 in 2019, so he's on about par with that. But in all honesty, Bont is probably going to poll votes a lot. That's how I see it. We'll jump into our little bit of a deeper dive into the top 4 players. They're, in my opinion, top 4 chances for the Brownlow. It's going to be interesting. All proven vote getters before. Obviously, Paddy Cripps and Lachie Neale, multiple Brownlow winners. Bont, unlucky not to have one, in all honesty. But he has polled well over the years. And Dacos, obviously, only in his 3rd year, but was only 3 votes off the Brownlow last year, having missed a few games. We'll start with Paddy Cripps, just because I have him on top. Career average of 0.78 votes per game coming into this year. Last 2 years, polled pretty well. 29 votes in 2022 and 22 votes in 2023. He's probably looking at 16 opportunities for votes this year across 3, 2, 1. I consider that like 16 games he's been in the top 5 on the ground. In all honesty, he's going to be in the top 2 a fair chunk of those. And that might be what wins it for him because he was in the top 2 players, or at least noticeable players. I've got 15 times, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Looking elsewhere at Paddy Cripps and where he's going to be polling, he's from round 15 onwards. He polls really well. There's only maybe 2 games where he might struggle after the bye to get a vote. I would imagine he's probably going to get 1, 2, or 3 in pretty much every other game from round 15 onwards. So he's going to make a really good run post-bye. Early season was a little bit hit and miss, maybe a few 0-vote games in there. But I think what his main effort will be in that second half of the year after the bye. So from round 15 onwards, watch for Paddy Cripps to really make a run. If he's already close to them at the start of round 15, he's going to be hard to beat. No doubt about that. Some of the stats behind Paddy Cripps' year. Let's have a look. What have we got? He's obviously an elite player in most ways. 11th most disposals in the AFL. Number 1 for centre clearances. Number 1 for clearances. Number 1 for contested football. Number 3 for hardball gets. 17 for tackles. 14 for inside 50s. So he's getting a lot of the football. I mean, he kicked quite a few goals too. 0.7 goals per game. Including at least 4 games where he kicked 2 goals in a match. Outside, as I said, he was really good out of the bye. First 2 weeks after the bye, he got 41 touches against Geelong, and then he followed that up with 40 touches and a goal against Richmond, and then the next 2 weeks as well, 33 touches and 2 goals against GWS. They did lose that one though, and 28 touches and 2 goals against the Bulldogs. So his run out of the bye was really, really good. I would imagine he's going to poll really well late. His numbers all year were pretty solid still. In all honesty, probably doesn't poll any in the first game against Brisbane, but you never know, he might sneak one. Round 1 against Richmond, should definitely poll in that one. 31 touches. when he's getting 31 touches. That's usually pretty noticeable for umpires. Then he's got a good game against Kangaroos before a couple quiet ones against Freo and Adelaide, which if he pulls in either of those two, then he's going to be hard to beat in the Brownlow, in my opinion. They're probably the crucial ones. Both of them, but especially that Freo one. If he polls in that one with 20 touches and a goal, then lock him in for the Brownlow, I think. Sorry, it just got really dark in here for some reason. So that's Paddy Cripps. We'll jump onto Bontempelli because he's next in my list. And how he goes and how he's gone previously. So I have him on 33 votes, which is quite a good season, which would equal his 2021 year when he lost to Ollie once in the Brownlow. He polls well. He's 0.83 votes per game. So the top 4 players are in my opinion, this year are all really proven vote getters across their careers. So it will be very interesting to see how that plays out. A lot of people have him not getting as many votes. I'm not sure why, because, I mean, he's in the top 5 players on the field pretty much every game. I think in my best and fairest voting, there was only one game this year that he was not in the Bulldogs' top 5. We'll get to that in a minute. But so he's always there and thereabouts. He gets a lot of it. He kicks goals. He's an outstanding player. There's no doubt about it. And he's a proven vote getter. 33 in 2021, 29 last year, 22 in 2019. So he does get votes. In my opinion, he was the best player in the AFL last year. And also, in my opinion, I think he was the best player in the AFL this year. That doesn't mean he gets the Brownlow, though. Unfortunately for him. What are we looking at? Marcus Bontempelli, he'll be just consistent throughout the season. As I said, he's going to be there or thereabouts pretty much almost every game this year. There's no doubt about it. He's going to be getting, when you look at him, according to AFL player ratings, number 1 player in the game, Supercoach scorer, number 1 in the game, number 1 in the AFL for score involvements, which is always crucial. Contested football gets a lot of it, ranked 5th in the AFL. Clearances, ranked 7 in the AFL. Averages more than a goal a game as well, which is crucial, I think. As a midfielder, getting forward and kicking goals certainly gets noticed by the umpires. If we look at his season, round 1, he had 25 touches and a goal. In all honesty, might not get any because they did get smacked by the Demons. But a solid start to the year. He'll get votes the next week, I'd imagine. 32 touches, 2 goals. Followed it up with only 16 touches, but 3 goals against the Eagles in a game that he spent most of the time forward. Geelong, he was really good, 35 touches and a goal. Then a couple quiet games. The next 3 games, he's maybe only going to get a vote across them, but then back into his best. All the way up to the bye, he's averaging lots of touches. Kicked 3 goals 2 weeks in a row going into the bye, as well as he'll have to get the 3 votes in round 12 against Collingwood. He had 38 touches and 2 goals that day. Followed it up with 19 touches, 3 goals, and 30 touches, 3 goals. So in all honesty, I think he gets 6 to 8 votes across those 3 weeks. And then straight out of the bye, probably gets the 3 votes again against North Melbourne. So that period's a really strong one for him. Might struggle across the next 4 to 5 weeks before coming home pretty well against Melbourne. He'll poll votes. Adelaide might be touch and go, but a couple goals might get him over the line. North Melbourne, maybe. And GWS is also a maybe. He was good that day, but there was a lot of good players. So it'll be interesting to see how he polls throughout the night. We'll jump onto Nick Dacos now because he's next up. He's 32 votes I've got him on. Polled really well last year. Was probably on track to win it when he got injured. Finished the year with 28. He obviously had 11 votes in his first campaign. Proven vote getter. He's probably best on ground 8 or 9 times this year, and then plenty of other opportunities where he's in the top 3 to 5 players on the ground and going to be a chance for votes. It'll be interesting to see how he polls, but in all honesty, he should poll pretty high. I'd be surprised if he isn't in the top 4. Where he's going to be polling and where he's not. Start of the season's okay. Round 2 he'll miss votes. Round 4 probably misses votes, and round 7, 13 he misses, and then round 19 and 22 he probably misses votes as well. Every other game he's well and truly in with a chance. His big spell, certainly in the first chunk of the year, was round 6 through 14. He's probably going to get 2 to 3 votes in 6 of those games, which if he gets most of them as 3s, he's going to be really hard to chase down at late in the year. Some of his numbers for the year: number 2 in centre clearances, number 3 in clearances, 7 in score involvements, 4 in contested football, 3 in loose ball gets, 6 in inside 50s. Obviously won the Coaches Association MVP. Kicked a reasonable amount of goals, similar-ish numbers to Paddy Cripps, 0.87 goals per game. He got a lot of it. As I said, he's not going to poll in round 2 against St Kilda. Outside of that, up until the bye, he's a chance for votes in all of those. I don't think he polls in on Anzac Day against Essendon, but every other game around that, he's a real good chance. He got subbed out early against Melbourne in round 13, so he won't get votes there. Out of the bye, Collingwood lost 4 in a row, but he was really good against Gold Coast, so I would imagine he will poll votes. Whether it's 1, 2 or 3, I'm not sure. A little bit of a tough run while they were losing here, but as soon as they started winning, he'll get votes again. He was 42 touches against Richmond. He had 28 touches and a goal against Carlton. He was solid against Sydney. I don't think he'll get votes, but he was in the top 5 or 6 players, and then finished with probably 2 best on grounds. One against Brisbane with 25 touches, 2 goals, and then against Melbourne he had 40 touches and 2 goals again to finish the season on a high. I think, in all honesty, it's going to be interesting. He'll probably poll really well through the middle part of the season, and then again over the last 5-week period. One last player to look at, and it's last year's Brownlow medalist. We all remember that maybe wasn't expected to do too well last year, but I mean, he was expected to do okay, but certainly not win it, I don't think, but did really well. I think he's been better this year than he was last year. Do the numbers say that? Maybe, maybe not, but I mean, he's number 4 in AFL player rating this year, number 5 Supercoach, number 7 for disposals, 9 for clearances. A little bit down on goals, in all honesty, only 0.59 per game this year. Number 6 for contested footy, number 2 for ground ball gets, number 2 for loose ball gets, number 12 for inside 50s. So he's always in there getting the ball. After 2 rounds, he's probably not going to have a vote. I doubt he polls against Carlton in round 1, seeing they lost that game, and he's probably only about 6th best on ground. But then he misses round 1 through injury and comes back for round 3. Obviously they had a bye in there as well. For Collingwood, they lost that one, but he had 35 touches and a goal, so I think he definitely will poll. He'll poll off and on for the most part of the up until their second bye in round 12. Probably looking at about 8 to 10 votes at that point. Any more than that, and he's going to be a real big chance for the Brownlow, because he comes home really, really well. Comes out of the bye with best on ground against the Bulldogs, 38 touches, 2 goals. St Kilda, he was a little bit down, probably won't poll any votes. Then Port Adelaide should get votes. Melbourne, probably not, but then again, maybe they give it to him, being that That's how sometimes the umpires see it. Should poll against Adelaide and West Coast. He was best on ground in both of those. 36 touches and 3 goals against Adelaide. 34 touches and 2 goals against West Coast. So 2 outstanding games. The game against Sydney was a downer. Probably won't poll there. Gold Coast and St Kilda probably polls 5 or 6 votes across that 2-week period. So he's looking at, in all honesty, 11 to 12 votes across 5 weeks there. GWS probably doesn't poll. Against Collingwood, he may poll. 22 touches, 2 goals. Might get him just the nod there. And then finished with a probably 3-vote game against the Essendon Bombers with 40 touches and a goal. So it's going to be tight, I think, between these 4 players. There's going to be some crucial games. Lachie Neale's crucial games are probably rounds 5, 6, 7. If he can poll 3 votes across those 3 weeks, he's going to be a real chance for the Brownlow, I think. So that's the early season watch for Lachie Neale. Early season watch for Bontempelli. If he polls in round 1 against Melbourne, that would be huge for him. I don't think he will, but that one would be huge for him. And he won't poll against Essendon in round 5, but if he can get votes against West Coast in round 3 and votes against Fremantle in round 7, they're the early season ones to watch out for him. As I said, Paddy Cripps' early season watch is round 4 and 5 against Fremantle and Adelaide. Any votes he gets in those couple will be huge for his season and his chances. And Nick Dacos, his early season, pretty much every game is a watch for him. He first 2 games, opening round and round 1, a fair chance to poll in either or both of those. Probably should be in the votes in both of those, I think. He won't get votes in round 2, so don't worry about that one. But rounds 3 and 4, again, are crucial games for him. If he polls in both of those, as well as the first 2, 4 of the first 5 weeks, he's a big chance for a really good polling night. So that's the end of my preview. That's quite a lot more content than I planned on going through, but a lot to talk about. It's Brownlow night. Let me know down below who you think's going to win it, what their vote count will be. Actually, just give me your top 3. That's the way we should do it. Don't forget to like, comment, as I said, subscribe as well. We've gone past 50. I'd love to get to 100 by the end of the season, but I don't think it's going to happen. But anyway, subscribe as well. Podcast goes live twice a week. Plenty of other videos, especially this week with grand final week. There's a lot of content coming your way, so check it all out. Thanks for watching. This is All Aussie Rules. We're here all the time. Thanks, and I'll catch you on the next one.